Hello you perforated apple cores, and welcome to my review of Nexomon Extinction. Okay, yes, it's Pokemon. As simple as that, it's Pokemon. But the best way to describe it would be a very dumbed down, simple version of Pokemon. And while that may not seem completely fair given some of the mechanics, that's pretty much what it boils down to. It's the usual thing, go to the place, catch some monsters, beef them up, and then beat everybody else. That's it, you know the formula, you know what's going to happen. There are some things, however, which are different in Nexomon compared to Pokemon. One thing I really like is your moves actually use stamina, so your Nexomon can get tired if it keeps using the more powerful moves. So instead of the power points having certain uses, once that Nexomon gets tired, then you have to either use a potion on it to make it feel better or just swap it out. Again, it makes more sense to me that that's the option that you get to choose. However, it's a bit frustrating that the stamina doesn't refill after battle. That's the one thing that I would like to see in the next one, is that maybe this overall stamina is lower, but it refills after each battle instead of you having to keep trying to give your Nexomon a massage to make it feel better. The catch mechanic is also better in Nexomon. I prefer it because you need to fill up a meter, which gives you your percentage chance for catching that monster. You can help it out by feeding it, giving it the right Nexomon trap to match its elements, or there are some whistles which also boost your chance. So I do like that mechanic, that is actually a percentage, and you need to try and do your best to actually raise that percentage instead of it being will you catch it, won't you. Also, you have boosters or cores which can help either get your Nexomon more experience points, or boost its attack, or stop it from getting certain ailments. That's another addition which is actually quite good to have and does differ from Pokemon. Again, it's just a nice little addition. And another thing I will say, which is a positive, is there's so many side quests for you to do. It can be too many in some ways, because they're literally just everywhere. It's just nice having that option where you can just do loads of different side quests if you want to. And unfortunately, that's probably where the positives kind of end for me. There are some very mixed feelings that I have about Nexomon. For example, the graphics, they look very simple and clean. However, it's not very good at displaying what kind of type of monster it is. Like, there's not really any texture to the monsters. I'm not saying I want to taste them, but it would be nice to know visually, like, okay, look, it's spiky there, it's furry there. That would be a nice little thing that they could add to the animation. When I said earlier it's a very simple version of Pokemon, it really is very simple. There's only one element type which your Nexomon can have, and it basically means just use that type of elements when it comes to the moves as well. It's not a case of having one of your Nexomon have like 4 different types of elements. It's really not worth it. You might as well just give them all one elemental type and then just swap out to the next Nexomon. That kind of strategy I don't really like. There's not really any option. It's just swap them out. You can also get companions which follow you around, which may seem like a great idea. However, I don't understand why you can't just use the Nexomon that you have in your party follow you around. You may have a favourite which doesn't actually have a companion which you can choose from to get it to follow you around. It's very odd to me why you can't just choose your favourite and have them walk around with you. When it comes to the actual battles and the other tamers that you fight against, or other bosses that you fight against, they actually level up with you, but that also means the wild Nexomon level up with you. So if you go back to the very starting area when you're level 40, those starting area Nexomon will also be level 40, even though they're the first of whatever 3 evolution stages of that Nexomon is. It adds more to the enjoyment when you do get a low level Nexomon and then you build it up, instead of it being, okay, I've got it at level 40, 2 more levels and then it's going to be at its best version. Kind of takes away the idea of taming or actually building your team up for yourselves, because it's already done for you. Also, as I was mentioning the wild Nexomon, it's very, very easy to get the mega rare or ultra rare Nexomon. And whether I'm just really lucky or it's just part of the mechanic where the mega rare or ultra rare doesn't really mean much, but I had one time where I literally went into an area, had 10 wild encounters, and 7 of those were either mega rare or ultra rare. It's kind of frustrating in some ways because it actually takes the fun out of catching monsters which are rare, because they're really not. They're very common. It doesn't feel like you've earned it or it's more of a surprise. It's a case of, alright, give me 5 minutes and I'm guaranteed to find ultra and mega rare Nexomon. As far as the designs of the Nexomon go, about 10, maybe 15% of the Nexomon are really interesting designs, are really cool designs which are going, okay, I really want to catch that. The biggest downside is, though, it's normally the very first stages of those Nexomon which are the better designed ones. So whether that's because you're likely to have them in your party longer and they've put more focus into that, I don't know, but it is kind of disappointing when I had this really cool looking first stage and then almost every single second stage evolution is really awkward. Then you get to the final stage and it's either passable or nothing special. The single stage Nexomon seem to be the best ones, so that would be my recommendation, is that if you really like a 3-stage Nexomon, chances are the first stage will look cool and then the other two won't. So I will recommend to you, if you're going to catch Nexomon, try and catch as many single stage Nexomon as you can. Another thing which is my biggest issue with this game is the Nexomon feel the same. There's not many varieties of, okay, this one's a tank, this one has high HP, this one does high damage. A lot of them just feel like they do decent damage and have decent speed. There's not many Nexomon which you're like, okay, this takes a big hit. A lot of the time you can just one hit a Nexomon and then that's it, you're just done, because your Nexomon isn't necessarily amazing, but it learns a specific move, and if it goes first, it just murders the other Nexomon. There's no real uniqueness to the Nexomon, which is very, very disappointing. Also, it feels very long because of how simple it is and because the battles aren't exciting. I will say the boss battles are actually quite challenging sometimes. Sometimes being there, the key word that snuck in there. I couldn't say all of them, but later on, definitely those boss fights are pretty challenging. But the problem is they're few and far between. Those other fights, those against the Tamers, against those random Nexomon, aren't fun. The bosses are challenging at least, but because the combat is so simple, it just doesn't feel enjoyable the whole way through, so it feels like it's a very long game. It is hard to recommend Nexomon because of all of those reasons. The combat isn't particularly fun, the Nexomons feel the same, there's not many interesting designs, but it does have a very funny story. It's very self-aware, it's very meta, it's very fourth wall breaking, the story itself. Some of the characters are very funny, some of the side quest characters are actually quite funny, but it's very hard to recommend the game. I don't think many people that have bought it have fully completed it because it just gets too simple and they'll want something a little bit extra. If you find it cheap, absolutely, go give it a go, go give it a try. But there's a very good base game here, and I really hope the next one expands on it and makes it more complex, because it would be a fantastic time sink. This one is okay, it's just not quite there yet. It just needs a little bit more of a push, it needs a little bit more love, just a little bit more attention to really get it into that high enjoyment range. But for now, it feels like it's a work in progress.